So we've already talked about some players who need to bounce back this upcoming season. Now let's talk about some breakout candidates. Every season there's a handful of guys who really blossom and break out. This past season, Kevin Fiala is a good example, somebody like JT Miller as well. Mika Zibanejad is another one. He shattered his career highs in points per game and goals per game. I did a video like this heading into the past couple of seasons. It's always fun to, try and predict which players that you think can take the next step. Before we go any further though, be sure to go follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you want to talk hockey somewhere other than YouTube. Links to those will be down below in the description. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and you want to see more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And with all that out of the way, let's get into 8 breakout candidates for the 2020-21 NHL season. Starting us off at number 8, and this is in no particular order, we have SONNY MILANO of the Anaheim Ducks, a former 16th overall pick by the Columbus Blue Jackets back in the 2014 NHL draft. And it's safe to say things just never really worked out for SONNY MILANO in Columbus. He wasn't able to just put it together at the NHL level. He was up and down between the American Hockey League and the NHL basically throughout his entire career ever since being drafted. So the Jackets finally traded him at the most recent deadline. They sent him to Anaheim in a 1-for-1 swap for Devin Shore. A change of scenery was definitely needed for SONNY MILANO, and in the 9 games he played for Anaheim after the trade, he looked pretty good. He had 5 points in those games. He was spending a lot of time on the top line with Ryan Getzlaf. The Ducks must have liked what they saw because on July 28th, they signed him to a 2-year contract extension, a cap of $1.7 million. He'll still be an RFA when that deal is up. If the Ducks put MILANO in a similar situation to the one they put him in the 9 games he played for them last season, I would be extremely surprised if he doesn't have a career year. Now, I'm not saying he's gonna turn into a star or put up like a point per game, nothing crazy like that, but let's just talk hypothetical since we don't really know how many games are going to be played. If it's a 72 game schedule, I think he's capable of having like a 15 goal, 40 point season, and if he can do that, I would definitely consider that a breakout year for him because his career high in points is only 22. Number 7, we have defenseman Rasmus Andersson for the Calgary Flames. I think I might have said this on the channel once before, but in the playing round and in the playoffs, to me Rasmus Andersson was Calgary's best defenseman. I was extremely impressed with his play. I think the biggest reason for that is because in the playoffs and in the play-ins he had a bigger role because on the right side Travis Hamonic wasn't there. He opted to not play. And this upcoming season I think Rasmus Andersson's role is only going to continue to expand because you look at Calgary's right side, they lost TJ Brody, he signed with the Maple Leafs, and of course Hamonic is still a UFA. Chances are he's probably not going to come back to Calgary. Now the Flames also did sign Chris Tanev, who plays on the right side, but honestly I wouldn't be surprised if we see Rasmus Andersson as the top pairing right-handed defenseman and then they play Chris Tanev on the second pairing or something like that. He's definitely going to get a lot more ice time. His average ice time per game this past season was a little under 20 minutes. I think that'll be up to around 21.5 to 22 minutes. Also, I think there's more offense there with Andersson than he showed over the past couple of seasons. This is a guy who had back-to-back 60-point seasons when he played in junior. He also had a 39-point season in the American Hockey League in 2017-18. To me, he is in a prime position to have a big breakthrough year for the Calgary Flames, and I honestly think there's a chance that in like 1 or 2 years from now, he's viewed as Calgary's best defenseman. I mean, Mark Giordano's 37 now. Number 6 now, I have Anthony Mantha of the Detroit Red Wings. Now this one is a little bit different than the previous 2 players we talked about. With Mantha, he's already played 260 NHL games. He's had multiple seasons of scoring 20 or more goals, but I really feel like Mantha is capable of a lot more than that, and I really thought that this past season was going to be his big breakthrough year, and it certainly looked that way to start the season. I think he had like 5 goals in the first 2 games of the season. Unfortunately, he only played 43 games though. Global pandemic got in the way of finishing the regular season, can't forget that. But when healthy, when Mantha was playing, he was by far, in my opinion, Detroit's most dangerous forward on a night in, night out basis. I'm really hoping this upcoming season, Mantha for one stays healthy and stops fighting. It seems like whenever this guy drops the gloves or gets into some type of scuffle, he gets injured. So he has to stay healthy and just continue to build off of the success that he had last year when he was playing. To me, Mantha has like 35 goal potential and can be up there around a point per game. Detroit as a team should definitely be a little bit better, at least I hope they are. Mantha just got a new deal this offseason, so he's getting paid over $5 million a year now. If there's ever going to be a season where he does have that big breakthrough, I think it's going to be this one. Next up at number 5, I have Roope Hintz of the Dallas Stars. Stars. Coming off of a real strong sophomore season, had 19 goals, second on the team in that category behind Denis Gurianov, had 33 points total in 60 games, and I think this upcoming season he's going to top those totals. He's going to have a much bigger role, especially because Tyler Seguin underwent hip surgery. He's going to miss a lot of time. That's Dallas's #1 center. I think there's a real good chance we see Roope Hintz spend a lot of time this upcoming season on a line with Jamie Benn and Alexander Radulov, serving as like their #1 center. Now, Joe Pavelski also could come in and fill that role, but ideally, is that where you want Pavelski playing at 36 years old, you know, getting those type of minutes and those type of matchups as a #1 center? I'm not saying Pavelski can't do it. I'm sure he would be just fine. I just think it might be better for Dallas if they let Roope Hintz take that role, and if that is what happens, I think we see Hintz have a huge offensive season. He showed us what he's capable of this past season. Like I said, he was second on the team in scoring. I think he's capable of being a 30-goal scorer, especially if he spends the majority of the season on a line with the likes of Alex Radulov and Jamie Benn. Number 4 on the list, we have goaltender Ilya Samsonov for the Washington Capitals. Now, I tried to stay away from having players on the list who were just a rookie because, you know, they're kind of expected to break out and get better in their sophomore season, but I decided to include at least one in the video, so I went with Samsonov. He obviously just had a great rookie season for the Capitals, 16-6-2 record, a .913 save percentage. He definitely outshined Braden Holtby, and having somebody like Samsonov, I'm sure, made it pretty easy for the Capitals to not worry about bringing Braden Holtby back. They did, however, go out and sign Henrik Lundqvist to come in. I'd imagine Samsonov will probably play more games. I feel like he'll be like 60% of them, and Lundqvist will be the other 40%. They should make up a real good tandem, especially if Ilya Samsonov continues to get better, which I'm fully expecting. I think he's going to have a big year. The young Russian goaltenders in the Metro Division, man, it's pretty crazy. You got Samsonov in Washington, Shesterkin for the Rangers, and then Sorokin coming in this upcoming season for the Islanders. It's going to be really interesting to follow those three guys, you know, throughout their careers and see who has the best career. I'm sure they're always going to be getting compared to each other. Number 3, we have Robert Thomas, centerman for the St. Louis Blues. Their 20th overall pick from the 2017 draft has already played 2 full years in the NHL, coming off of a really strong sophomore season where he had 10 goals and 32 assists for 42 points in 66 games. On top of his offensive numbers, at just 21 years old, Robert Thomas is already a very reliable two-way centerman. I'm sure it helps that he's playing behind and learning from Ryan O'Reilly, who's one of the best two-way centermen in the league. I fully expect Robert Thomas to just keep getting better, especially as his role expands. He only averaged about 14.5 minutes of ice time per game this past season. 42 points in 66 games, only playing that many minutes, is pretty impressive. I'd imagine this upcoming season he gets more ice time than that. I'm interested to see what type of role he gets, because down the middle, obviously, they have Ryan O'Reilly and Braden Shen, so if he's playing center, he's most likely on the third line, but I know the Blues have played him at wing a little bit, and with Tarasenko being out for the majority of, if not the entirety of this upcoming season, honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Robert Thomas playing on the top line on the right wing. If he gets that type of opportunity, I think Robert Thomas is somebody who could, you know, be up there around a point per game. I think he's that good. Coming in at number 2 now, we have JESPERI KOTKANIEMI, centerman for the Montreal Canadiens, their 3rd overall pick from the 2018 draft. As we all know, Kotkaniemi came in right away and had a strong impact in his rookie season, 34 points in 79 games, but this past season, so his sophomore season, was definitely a little bit of a setback. Only played 36 regular season games for the Habs, didn't really produce at the rate I'm sure they would have liked, was sent down to the American Hockey League where he put up some pretty good numbers, but then suffered a spleen injury that put him out for the rest of the regular season. Now, the whole global pandemic and the stoppage in play was actually pretty good for Kotkaniemi because it gave him time to recover from his injury, and then he was ready to go by the time the NHL started back up for the playoffs, and he actually looked really good in the playoffs. Had 4 goals in 10 playoff games, looked much better than he did in the regular season games he played for the Canadiens. If Kotkaniemi can carry that play from the playoffs into this upcoming season, then I think he's poised to have a big breakthrough season. I'm really interested to see where he plays in the lineup because Deneau and Suzuki are probably the top 2 centers heading into the season, but Philippe Deneau's future with the team is a little bit uncertain with him being a free agent next offseason, so we'll see what happens. And now, finishing off the video at number 1, we have KAILER YAMAMOTO for the Edmonton Oilers. He started this past season playing in the American Hockey League for Bakersfield, but wound up playing 27 games with the Oilers, and in those 27 games, Yamamoto was fantastic. 11 goals, 26 points, was playing for the most part with Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl. I'd imagine the Oilers look to go with that as their second line heading into this upcoming season, just based off of the success that they had playing together last year, and if last year was any indication of how they're going to play this upcoming season, season, I think Yamamoto is going to have a massive offensive season. I think he'll probably be up there around a point per game. I mean, he was 1 point shy of a point per game this past season in 27 games. It was just a really small sample size. Another thing when it comes to Yamamoto, and if he does play with Draisaitl and Nugent-Hopkins, that line isn't going to get all the toughest matchups in terms of defensemen and defensive forwards. That's going to be thrown at Connor McDavid. The fact that the Oilers now seemingly have forward depth has to be pretty exciting for Oilers fans because that was such a big problem for a while. That is going to wrap up today's video though. Those were 8 NHL players who I think are in a real good position to have a breakthrough 2020-21 season. If there's anybody that I did not talk about in this video that you think is going to have a breakout year, just be sure to leave a comment down below. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave it a like. That is the best way to show your support. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel and you want more NHL content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all in the next video.